Hey guys, sorry I've been gone for a while. I stubbed my toe. FIFA 24, wait. FC24 Ultimate Team is without a doubt one of the biggest mixed bags that I have ever played. While I feel that a lot of the new mechanics added to the game have a lot of potential, they are mostly plagued by piss poor execution and tend to be riddled with inconsistencies. EA really need to get it together, as FC24 is the perfect example of why the FIFA community, specifically the Ultimate Team player base, has been steadily declining, with the main reason for this being EA's incompetence. In this video, I'm going to explain the new mechanics added into FC24, what I like, what I don't like, what EA can improve, and how FC24 Ultimate Team exhibits a bleak future for Ultimate Team as a whole. And guys, just remember that this is just my opinion, but if you've played FC24, this is probably going to resonate with you. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's get started with... Let's start this video on a positive note, as I feel that the inclusion of playstyles had a lot of potential. Player traits have been completely vaulted in favor of a new mechanic, playstyles. In total, there are 34 different playstyles, and these playstyles are divided into 6 categories, being scoring, passing, ball control, defending, physical, and goalkeeping. Players can possess multiple base playstyles, which can moderately boost certain abilities, while simultaneously possessing up to 2 playstyle pluses, which significantly impact the performance of each player. The most meta playstyle pluses are Rapid, Quick Step, Finesse Shot, Incisive, Whipped Pass, Anticipate, Technical, and Trivela. I really prefer the playstyle mechanic over the vaulted trait system, as I feel that player traits didn't do enough to make certain players feel unique to how they play in real life.
What the fuck?
Take a player like Didier Drogba. In past FIFA games, he never felt as dominant in the air as he was in real life, but when given the Aerial Plus playstyle, he becomes nearly identical to the dominant player he once was. This is why I believe this idea has so much potential, as playstyles enable a player to excel in one area and feel unique in a game where there are so many players to choose from. This adds an extra layer to squad building, as you'd want to build your team around playstyles that synergize well with each other, like Power Header and Whipped Pass. So far so good, right? Wrong, because some of these playstyles are absolute dog shit in comparison to others. Like the First Touch and Press Proven playstyle pluses either don't make any difference whatsoever to how your player controls the ball, or are way too situational to effectively impact the player's performance. At first glance, the First Touch playstyle sounds like it would be incredibly meta, as the player's first touch is incredibly important in any scenario in football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. But this playstyle does fuck all, and makes no difference to your player's first touch. I have never noticed a difference between players who have the trait and those who don't. For the Press Proven playstyle plus, it is just way too situational for it to be meta, essentially making players who have it unviable. For defenders, the shot blocking and slide tackle playstyles are complete and utter ass that add little defensive value to your players, and the fact that these sound like necessities for a defender makes it even worse. Blocking shots were extremely broken from FIFA 20 to FIFA 23, but the block shot playstyle never activates in game, making it a waste of what could have been a great defensive buff. The other playstyle, Slide Tackle Plus, barely works, as it's nearly impossible not to concede a foul when using it, as slide tackles generally feel incredibly uncoordinated and almost never work how you'd expect them to. Slide tackles in previous FIFA games had a great risk versus reward aspect to them. You either win the ball or draw a foul, but now it just feels like I'm only using slide tackles to take my frustration out on my opponents.
Are you kidding me? Are you seriously kidding me?
This points out a glaring issue with playstyles, as players that lack meta playstyles are completely unviable in the current state of play. Strikers that have the best ball control or shooting playstyles are able to play much more effectively than players who lack them, which vastly limits your options when picking players to use in your team. This is especially true with defenders, as a center back that doesn't have the Anticipate playstyle will get fucked on by the millions of Mbappes that are made available to the player base. Take Baresi for example. You're telling me that one of the greatest defenders of all time doesn't have the normal Anticipate playstyle? Give me a break. I hate that not having certain playstyles are able to make a player completely unusable in the meta. This also points to a huge overarching issue that has plagued FIFA for a while, as EA continue to prioritize competitiveness over fun. You can no longer build a fun team filled with sentimental players and wreak havoc on your opponent with your skill alone, because some players just don't have a certain playstyle. Part of this leads me to believe that EA only added playstyles to make the game more competitive, and in the process, tainted what could have been a great idea that freshened up the gameplay, which is something that FIFA has desperately needed for a while. Instead, playstyles feel like an afterthought by EA, which is evident with how many updates were made in an attempt to better balance the playstyles. EA can literally never get anything right on the first try, as these monthly updates are ass backwards. The devs at EA must be smoking crack or something, because these updates will either nerf fun playstyles that don't need to be nerfed at all, like Power Header, or the devs will say that they're going to nerf a broken playstyle and make virtually zero difference when the update drops. Remember when EA nerfed Finesse Shot Plus in December? I don't. Finesse shots are still broken, and a lot of people's main scoring method. I still concede at least 3 finesse shots every game. Alright, so remember how I just said that EA never get anything right on the first try? Well, I may have stretched the truth just a little bit, because they hit the nail on the head with Evos. I feel like Evos are a great user-friendly mechanic added into the game that EA give a lot of attention to, and created a fun way to upgrade your players. Essentially, EA will drop new evolutions in which you could put a player into them that fit certain requirements, play some games, and complete objectives, and obtain an upgraded version of your player.
What is the goalkeeper doing? Why are you there?
Where evolutions really thrive is in the aspect that players can be evolved multiple times, the most notable example of this being with Daniel Malin, as putting him into the FC Founders upgrade, completing it, and then putting him into the finisher evolution would give you this broken card. While this element of Evos has the potential to increase competitiveness, I really don't have an issue with this for 2 reasons. The first reason is because this does not encourage the player to spend money on microtransactions, despite some Evos only being obtainable through coins and FIFA points. But the coin prices are all pretty affordable, so it's not a big deal. The second reason is because this system actually rewards you for playing games, instead of menu grinding, which menu grinding has ultimately made the game significantly more competitive. All in all, I feel like Evos are a great system, and EA did a really good job despite it being their first time they've done something like this. I only have one minor complaint regarding evolutions, and it's the fact that sometimes the stats can lie. For instance, with this Future Stars Mallard evolution, comparing Future Stars Mallard to base Johan Cruyff, we see a couple things. Right off the bat, we could say that Mallard has better pace, shooting, and dribbling compared to Cruyff, along with a more meta body type, better agility and balance, more total stats, and more in-game stats, which should theoretically make Mallard a better player than Cruyff. However, anybody who's played FIFA will tell you that this just is not the case, as Cruyff is a much more meta attacker, despite the fact that Mallard has better stats. While this isn't the perfect comparison, as Cruyff has 5-star skills in weak foot and a couple of minuscule playstyles, if I showed you each card's in-game stats along with playstyles and skill moves in weak foot, you'd have a tough time trying to decide who the better player is. Another example of this is with the David Alaba chain evolution, which would yield a 93 rated center back. While I haven't used this card, the fact that I never see him in my opponent's teams, or rarely any Evos for that matter, makes me believe that these cards are a little fraudulent and don't play how their stats would suggest. I'm willing to overlook this, as this is because most of the Evo players are either free or pretty cheap, and if you don't like how your Evo plays, you could just always throw them into an SBC. That's really all I have to say about Evos, as there isn't really anything super negative to touch on. Now, let's look at the final new mechanic added into FC24, that being... Now, to be honest, I think that the inclusion of women in this game has a lot of upsides despite what a chunk of the community thinks. I was personally excited when I found out that female players were being added because I thought that this was a refresher that FIFA needed. I think it's good that EA added females to the game because of progressivism and such, but also because the inclusion of women actually differentiates FC24 from previous FIFAs, as now there are hundreds of new players added into the game, with the majority of the new women added fitting the FIFA meta. FIFA Ultimate Team has consistently favored smaller players, as a player's smaller stature positively impacts how they feel on the ball, as they typically turn quicker and feel more agile. Many of the female players act in this manner, and it makes sense, as in real life, female players tend to lack the physical dominance that many male players possess, and EA needed to do something in order to balance the hundreds of new players they added into the game. I honestly don't have a problem with this approach. Not only because it does enough to differentiate the women from the men while creating a level playing field between them, but also because I personally enjoy playing with shorter, agile players, and EA have basically given me hundreds of options to choose from. Sadly, this is where my positives end, as EA completely dropped the ball and didn't think about how adding hundreds of new players would affect the transfer market and SBCs, mixed with the weekly batch of promo cards. If I'm being completely honest, I think females were added by EA to put a greater emphasis on SBCs. EA basically dropped hundreds of new players in the game who all have the potential to receive special cards, and because EA like to drop a new batch of promo players every week, there are just way too many players in the game, and we really see how this affects the transfer market. Since FIFA 22, the transfer market has been on a complete downward spiral, caused by EA adding new promo cards every single week, and we really see how this affects obtaining players in FC24. At the time of writing this, you're able to buy an 88 rated player for 15,000 coins and an 89 rated player for 27,000 coins. Remember when packing an 86 rated player in FIFA actually meant something? Now when I pack an 86, I'm just waiting for an SBC to put them into. I feel like EA also wanted to make the game a little more competitive, not only because about 60% of women in EAFC fit the Ultimate Team meta, but this also increases the amount of fodder players in the game to put a higher emphasis on SBCs to make more broken players readily available. The effects of a higher emphasis on SBCs and a dead transfer market make completing SBCs incredibly easy, too easy even. If you're a rat that likes to buy FIFA points, this greater emphasis on SBCs is perfect for you, as you can use the players that you pack from the shitty pack weight and just throw them into an SBC.
Oh, let's go, that's class!
The fact that EA will constantly drop icon packs, hero packs, party bags, and individual players via SBCs on a daily basis make it way too easy to have a broken team. There is such a simple solution to all of these problems. If EA simply stopped releasing so many cards via SBCs and promos, players would actually retain their value because there aren't 12 different versions of them to choose from, and it would make obtaining high value cards much more rewarding, like in the glory days of FIFA. I just want to end this segment by saying that overall, I like that female players are in the game now, because there are so many new fun players to use, like Mia Hamm, Alex Morgan, Kessler, and Scott, just to name a few. But EA used this as an opportunity to put an emphasis on fodder and SBCs to make the game more competitive and encourage microtransactions. Speaking of which, this section is going to be a little bit shorter because I'm probably the 1,000th person to speak on this issue, but I mean, we all knew this was coming. Microtransactions have been a staple of multiplayer EA games for a while, with the most notable instance being with Star Wars Battlefront 2, in which Redditors figured out that it would take a minimum of 40 hours to unlock either Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader without the use of any microtransactions. FIFA points, which can only be obtained by spending real money, have been a key feature of FIFA Ultimate Team since its conception in 2008. Since then, there have been plenty of controversies surrounding the in-game currency, with the most covered one being in a viral Twitter thread written by Scubs TV in 2021. To summarize the Twitter thread, Scubs created the most meta team in FIFA 20 and calculated that it would take approximately 22,000 hours of playing matches or 1,650 hours of trading on the transfer market to obtain this team. These findings really resonated with the FIFA community, as they proclaimed that microtransactions removed all the skill from the game, effectively making it pay to win, and didn't encourage players to improve at the game, but to instead have the best team with the most expensive players. It's also so clear how desperate EA are to get you to spend money with the new packs that they release in the store. I mean, look at this shit. At the time of writing this, you could buy a 215k pack, a 275k pack, a 350k pack, a 400k pack, a 600k pack, and a 625k pack. EA, what the fuck is this? And that's not even including the promo packs, as these all came from the global limits, or formerly known as lightning rounds. It's almost like EA want to bring back the glory days of FIFA pack openings from FIFA 14 to FIFA 17, but don't understand why pack openings were so entertaining back in the day. Pack openings used to be so magical because standard gold players were worth playing with and didn't lose value after a month, and because there weren't half as many promo cards back in the day as there are today, it makes packing a high value player feel much more rare and much more valuable. Fortunately, we can all rest easy because I'm sure that the FIFA community has better things to spend their money on. Wait. Oh boy. The FIFA community is in shambles. I mean, I feel like the declining player base has filtered out the genuinely good players, and all that's left are the virgin, degenerate, incel, money-wasting rats that consistently play the game. And to be quite frank, I think that the FIFA community is one of the most toxic communities in gaming. I want to start this segment by talking about how a noticeable amount of FIFA players seemingly hate women, but this should come as no surprise considering how many soccer fans hold some sort of distaste towards women's soccer. Thankfully, when women were added into the game, the world miraculously continued to revolve, and a lot of the sexist comments would seem to disappear, but we still got funny interactions such as, "Bro, Alicia Lehman is the only woman that has a positive like to dislike ratio on Footbin. She's so fucking hot though." This is a pretty minor issue, as this idea in FIFA is still in its infancy, and sexism within the FIFA community has been declining. However, there is plenty more to talk about. Something that I have an issue with is how everybody has access to monstrous cards that have game-breaking potential. And I'd say that almost every team in the game has at least 2 game-breaking cards, and it's only March. To put it into perspective, in FIFA 16, a broken team in March would look like this. Notice how the highest rated player in this team is 90 overall, and there's a couple of cards in this team that are 80 rated, 82 rated, and even a silver card. Now, this is my current Ultimate Team. Notice how 8 of the 11 players in this team are 90 rated and above. This is considered a slightly above average team, even considering the fact that I have Cruyff and Mateus, both players valued at over 1 million coins. The fact that I was able to obtain these players with relative ease and without spending any money not only shows how unrewarding and easy it is to obtain high value players, as well as how frustrating it is to play against this toxic ass community who all wield similar teams. Especially when you take into consideration the amount of players that spend money on FIFA points, it's not uncommon to see people with cards valued at over 3 million or even 5 million coins. It's honestly sad to see how much money is spent on FIFA points, as back in 2017, EA raked in $775 million on FIFA Ultimate Team alone. Does the community really not have anything else to spend their hard-earned money on, like a girlfriend or something? It's also important to note that when playing against Credit Card FC, many players will employ the rattiest tactics to win that I've ever seen. It really makes me think that some of these people who play this game really have nothing better to do with their lives. Some of the tactics that people will employ consist of playing pinged passes from right back to left back, manual goalkeeper movement, constantly heading the ball back to the keeper, and passing around the back with a full half left to play when up 1-0. There's really no telling how low a FIFA player will go to win a game or to reduce a goal deficit, with nothing being more evident of this than the no-loss glitch. A no-loss glitch is easily one of the stupidest and most backward things that has ever been unintentionally added to an online video game. With a no-loss glitch, it doesn't matter how well you play in a game, as a player can simply disconnect from the match in a specific way, resulting in a tie for the person who performed the glitch and a loss for the other person. Let's say you're winning a game 3-0 in the first half. Losing player can simply pause the game when the ball goes out of play and disconnect you from the match, which requires you to load back into the Ultimate Team main menu. The second you load back into the game, you'll be greeted with a DNF message, saying that you have just lost a match that you were disconnected from. EA, what the fuck is this shit? It needs to be fixed, and I'm not even sure if EA penalized people for doing this. The fact that one of the most toxic communities in gaming has access to a glitch that can allow you to bail out of a game that you are losing with virtually no penalty is a recipe for disaster, and makes for one of the most consistently frustrating online gaming experiences that I have ever had. It's almost as if EA encouraged toxicity by adding some of the most rage-inducing celebrations. I swear, if I get grittied on by another player of the month Mbappe, I'm going to lose my shit. I haven't even touched on the transfer market botting, which is a whole different can of worms, and one of my least favorite aspects of the FIFA community. If you didn't want to spend money on FIFA points, or third-party coin websites to make money or have a broken team, you would have to snipe and trade players. Sniping and trading is essentially just trying to buy players or chemistry styles for the lowest price available on the market and selling them for a profit. This can include mass buying players hoping they will rise in value, or just buying individual players to sell for a small profit. Now, the community has created bots for the transfer market that snipe and trade players automatically, essentially removing all of the skill from sniping and making it really difficult to snipe without a bot. Let's say you see a player that you want to buy on the market for a low price, and they were just posted on the market. Even better, you go to buy one and you get this message. The likelihood that you were just beaten out by a bot is pretty high. Bots also add a pay-to-win aspect, as bots are able to snipe a player for a significantly lower price than their actual value. I mean, look at the screen and tell me that there isn't something wrong with this. Sniping bots are really no different from sneaker and retail bots. Like when people tried buying PS5s in 2020, nobody could get their hands on one because people use bots to buy all of them and sell them at a higher price. All that I really have left to say is that this community makes the game so much more rage-inducing than FIFA has ever been, and it's honestly sad to see the state of the community, since many notable content creators have left the scene to do greater endeavors like Chris MD and the Sidemen. That's not to say that there aren't still great creators, like Nick Run the Foot Market, Bateson, Inception, and Visa, but the FIFA community as a whole is just a shell of its former self. However, with all the toxicity in the community, there's one thing that the community can unanimously agree on, and that's the fact that the gameplay is atrocious. While I was writing this, I realized that this video is mostly negative, which begged the question, why do I play this game? Is it the engaging and rewarding team building system? Nope. Is it the fun and friendly community that I shared this game with? Not a chance. Is it because of my unquenchable thirst to obtain more game-breaking players? I wish. I realized that one of the only reasons I still play this game is not only due to my love for football/soccer, but because of how terribly inconsistent the gameplay is. But wait, why the fuck would you play a video game if the gameplay is so inconsistent? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me give you an analogy to help you out, you special viewer. The reason people develop addictions is because they have a euphoric first experience with whatever they're addicted to, but as they use the substance more and more, they feel less and less euphoric, leading them to use the substance more to obtain the desired effects, essentially creating a cycle that's incredibly difficult to break. This is virtually no different than the gameplay in EAFC, as the gameplay has its heavenly highs and hellish lows. The reason I say this is because sometimes your team will play like prime Barca under Pep Guardiola, connecting passes like it's nothing and absolutely cooking your opponent, while in the next game, your team will play like they've never stepped foot on a football field in their entire lives. Now, pardon my conspiracy, but I feel like the reason EA made the gameplay in this manner was to get us addicted to the game, as instances where your players feel amazing in game induce a sense of euphoria that you're on top of the world and no team can stop you, only for this feeling to be crushed in the next game as your team will struggle to connect 3 passes, players will feel more sluggish and less agile, and your team will be riddled with defensive errors.
Work! They're not working! No!
This makes you frustrated, and will have you asking where it all went wrong, leading you to play another game, chasing the euphoric feeling that comes with the dominating win. Just like a drug, EA will do anything to desperately cling on to their bleeding fan base.
Henry!
Sounds like a skill issue, bro. You either have a brain issue or have never played the game before, because forget microtransactions, the gameplay is probably what the FIFA community complains the most about because it is just as bad as I'm making it out to be. If you still haven't gotten the message, then this Reddit post really sums up the point that I'm trying to make. It's the way they intend the game to play to keep you coming back. If you steamrolled everyone, you'd get bored. If you lost every game, you'd get bored. Played a guy earlier, and I couldn't make any simple passes, with all of them just being too soft or just too far out to reach. All of my tackles would rebound right to another attacker, etc. I lost 4-1. I queue up another game, and I notice it's the same username, squad, kit, etc. Fully expecting to lose again, thinking, maybe he was just better. Nope. I was the one who won 4-1, and I was never in any danger and cruised right through the game. When you're on the short end of the stick gameplay-wise, the biggest obstacle that you're going to face is trying to compensate for the defensive errors and deflections. When you're on the shit end of gameplay, you'll start to notice that the other team dominates possession because they keep getting the ball back. Almost every time you attempt to tackle, you'll slightly graze the ball, and it will either stay in the attacking player's possession or fall back to somebody else on the other team. Now, I might be garbage at defending, but the footage honestly speaks for itself, and the community has taken note. When the general consensus for defending is to not switch onto your center backs, you know that something's wrong. On another note, Why the hell are 45th and 90th minute goals so damn frequent? It honestly makes no sense that these goals are as frequent as they are. Like for instance, when I have a corner kick in the 45th minute, all that I know is either of us are going to score before the half ends, whether it be from a header or counterattack. Also, goals from kickoff are incredibly frequent, as I tend to score a lot of these goals. I like using skill moves a lot, and sometimes I find it too easy to breach the back line with skill moves from kickoff, as a defender's IQ decreases by at least 40% when the ball is flicked up into the air. With that being said, I feel like skill moves have been getting slightly nerfed since FIFA 21, as in FIFA 22, I was able to achieve Elite Division and Division Rivals with 0 5-star skillers while still utilizing skill moves. Even though I just said that skill moves help me score goals from kickoff, they aren't nearly as effective during real play, as players seem to significantly slow down after performing a skill move, which wasn't an issue in previous FIFA games. This makes FC24 feel lifeless, and was what really opened my mind to how terrible this game is, as skill moves were one of the only things that kept me consistently playing, and this really took a lot of the fun out of the game for me. Now, with all of this being said, the inconsistent gameplay has led the FIFA community to speculate that something funny was going on behind the scenes at EA, and the term scripting was born. Scripting, DDA, whatever you want to call it, is a whole can of worms, so I'm going to use this Quora post to sum it up. FIFA scripting, also known as momentum or dynamic difficulty adjustment, is a term used in the FIFA video game series. It refers to the alleged manipulation of gameplay mechanics by the game's artificial intelligence to influence match outcomes, often in a way that gives advantages to one team over another. The concept of FIFA scripting suggests that the game's AI deliberately adjusts various factors during a match, such as player attributes, ball physics, player reactions, and referee decisions, in order to create artificial moments of excitement or to favor one team. This is often believed to level the playing field by providing advantages to weaker teams or creating dramatic comebacks. While EA denied the existence of scripting, if you've ever played the game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All in all, FC24 Ultimate Team's gameplay makes literally 0 sense and completely kills any good idea that EA has implemented, like EVOs or female players. I miss the glory days at FIFA, where everyone didn't have a 7 million coin team by March, and when the gameplay didn't feel like I was playing for a dopamine rush. At the beginning of this video, I said that FC24 was a mixed bag, which may seem a little off considering the fact that this video is mostly negative. Well, I guess what I meant by this is that FC24 is a mixed bag containing an overwhelming amount of piss and shit, with a little cherry on top to distract you from all of the game's shortcomings. EA's emphasis on competitiveness has caused them to completely neglect the casual fan, and overall makes for an incredibly sweaty experience. It doesn't help that most of the community will do anything in their power to cling on to whatever in-game lead they have, and combine that with god-awful, inconsistent gameplay, and you have one of the most frustrating online gaming experiences ever. Every single aspect of Ultimate Team 24, with the exception of Evolutions, has had at least one major shortcoming that completely tanks any potential that made any of these ideas exciting. As we know, EA can never properly fix anything, no matter how many times they try to. I mean, just look at playstyles. Now, the title of this video may seem a little off. I mean, how did we kill FIFA? What I mean by this is that every single person who plays, makes content about FIFA, and the developers have all contributed to the franchise's downfall. Whether it's people like me expressing the game's shortcomings, the devs that implement these horrible gameplay mechanics, or the community that makes the game toxic and borderline unplayable, have all contributed to the downfall of FIFA in one way or another. And if there's anything positive to come out of this, it is probably the fact that I am turning over a new leaf and not going to waste any more valuable hours of my life playing this sorry excuse for a video game. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.